Why do I love Penang? If you've never been to Asia, Malaysia, Southeast Asia, a lot of Asia's in that sentence, what you may not know is that the Chinese influence in the area is absolutely massive. Oh wow, look at this amazing, look at that amazing pharmacy over there. Extremely nice. So the Chinese influence in the area is extremely strong. What do I mean with Chinese influence? Let me give you a quick recap. So about 100 years ago, Chinese people from China started venturing into Southeast Asia. And they mostly came from the south of China, from provinces such as Fujian, Guangdong, Hainan. And the reason why they were moving was because they were struggling back home. In the meantime, I want to show you the beauty of Penang, the amazing shop houses. So the people in China were struggling. They were looking to move and to work potentially in Southeast Asia, places that were famous for being very, very rich of natural resources. I'm talking about rubber, sugarcane, timber. So the Chinese people moved to Southeast Asia in numbers. We're talking millions of people, and these people settled across Southeast Asia, in the Philippines, in Indonesia, in Malaysia, etc. And of course, what they did was that together with themselves, they also brought their rich culture, their stories, their tradition. And of course, they ended up really shaping the countries that moved in. So just to share with you, for the longest time, Chinese were the majority group in Malaysia. Now it's not the case anymore. Why? Because Malays have more kids than the Chinese. But for the longest time, it wasn't the case. So what happened was that the Chinese bringing their culture, a lot of places, and in particular Penang in Malaysia, really became Chinese. But again, it's not the Chinese from China. That's very important for me to highlight. It's not Chinese from China because even though these people hail from China originally, over time they started mingling with the locals, and that created a unique culture that you see in the clothing, in the traditional clothing, a unique culture that you see in the food, a unique culture that you see in the traditions. And so they ended up creating something very, very nice. Very, very nice. So Penang specifically, here people are Hokkien. See all of this very, very nice shop houses everywhere. People are Hokkien. So what it means is that, that Hokkien is a dialect or a language, depends who you ask. And it's the majority language here. So of course, Chinese people nowadays, they speak Mandarin also in Singapore and Malaysia. And of course, part of that is due to the fact that China has become richer, more prominent, and some other stuff that we'll talk about next time. And but the common language here of the Chinese in Penang is Hokkien. So that's the language of the Chinese. And you will be surprised, but I hear that also Indians and Malays at times speak Hokkien because it's just so prominent. So, back again from Penang. So maybe wondering, is it hot in Penang? Yes, it's hot. Now to give you a sense of how hot it is during the day, my phone, which I use for recording the videos, at some point just stopped recording. I mean, it stopped recording because it overheated. And I wasn't recording for 2 hours, it was like 6 minutes. So that's just how hot it is over here. And during the good thing is that early in the morning or late at night, actually it's very enjoyable. It's not that hot at all. It's quite it's fresh. It's really fresh. Now, one thing that you may not like about Penang is that crossing the street is no easy feat. This is the proper Southeast Asia experience where you have to watch out, number one. And number two, you have to make 100% sure that you cross with confidence. There is no opportunity for you to be undecisive, because if you do, you're gonna get run over. So when the time is ripe, you cross the road, and that's it. Don't think twice. So let's just do that now. So we cross. That's how you do it. So yeah, it's quite hot in Penang, and well, the thing is that I'm talking to you about Penang, but this is literally the tip of the iceberg, because in reality we are here in Georgetown. So Georgetown is the historical heart of the city, sorry, of the island. It's the historical heart of the island. So that's where you have the vast majority of historical buildings, shop houses, and this area is gazetted as UNESCO World Heritage. Now, of course, Penang is a pretty big island, so there is a lot of stuff going on, right? There is a lot of different areas. So, for example, if you go outside Penang, there is maybe 30 minutes drive, not even. There is this massive Chinese temple, which, if I recall correctly, is the biggest one in Malaysia. So I can't remember the name right now off the top of my head, but yeah. So that's just to give you a sense. Now if you're into nature, making some very nice breakfast food on the street, coffee shops as always. You know what we love from Malaysia. Landed properties. Now this stuff in Singapore, it's worth in the millions. You know, this is what we call an inter-terrace in Singapore. Yeah. So there you go. See, this is the typical Georgetown vibe, which is great. And one other thing about Penang or about Georgetown that is great is the fact that it's very quiet. It's very, very quiet all the time, which is great. So yeah, and let me show you also. You know, it's very cool to me that they still have the very old school canalization here. You see, the water goes over here. It's like the sewage system. Not really sewage, but you get it. And yeah, we just cross like that. So people, of course, live here. Sometimes these are homes, sometimes these are shops, or sometimes they're both. They're both actually. So yeah, another cool thing about Georgetown is the architecture. So what you see over here is the evolution of shop houses style over time. So not all shop houses are created equal. So if you see behind me, you can see the very modern kind. This is like a bit Art Deco, if I recall correctly, style. So this is relatively modern. And then further down the street, you see over there, I mean, we're gonna look at it. That's a bit older style. We're talking about 1860s to 1910s time, while this is more from the 1910s to 1960s era. So you see that those shop houses are more refined, you know, the more, yeah, a bit show off, I would say. While these tend to be slightly more practical in the way they're designed. But yeah, no matter the style, I find that the shop houses are always great, always great. Of course, something that is not so nice is the fact that there's a lot of abandoned shop houses. I'm still not super clear on why that is the case. My understanding is that some, you know, like basically the owners are not ready to pour money into maintaining them, so they're really abandoned. And the reason is that this being a UNESCO World Heritage area, the facade you have to maintain. You know, you can't alter it, you can't do anything with it, or rather, you have to make sure that it maintains its original style. But of course, you know, making sure that something. I mean, look at this. Can you imagine the maintenance cost of a shop house like that? It must be crazy, especially if you're someone that you inherited the property and you know, doesn't have a business or But basically, yeah, it's not making a lot of money. So unfortunately, you see a lot of these abandoned shop houses, and yeah, but generally speaking, it's I mean, generally speaking, the majority are quite well maintained, and it seems to me that over time they've been maintaining them more. Last time I was in Penang, that was 4 years ago, close to 5. Then it looked a lot worse. So things have seemed to have gotten better. Look, this is a very nice shop house, or two, like twin shop houses here in Lorong McAllister. Look on that. Modern shop houses. You see? Yeah. What you see behind me now is not a shop house, but something iconic in its own way. The Comta. So this is a massive, well, pretty big, I would say, building smack in the center of Penang, of Georgetown. Again, sorry, to me, they are one and the same, as we say in Russian, but it's of course, you know, there is a difference. Now, I digress. On the Comta, so basically they built this massive building before the historical city center of Georgetown was declared UNESCO World Heritage. So what was happening is that they started tearing down houses and shop houses, and they started turning around the historical city center to make it more modern. And of course, a lot of people opposed that. They refused to have their home, their city, turned into a modern, let's say, copy-paste type of town. So people resisted, and you know, they managed to appeal to the UNESCO that declared it a World Heritage. So that's basically what happened. And this building, unfortunately, is still here. It's really like a punch in the face, honestly. I don't know how else to put it. Compared to the rest of this great city center, it really puts you off. But you know, it's there. And the locals came to, I would say, to accept it